Hello. An error occurred. Let's see if it pops back in. It seems to be on the video display. I don't even know how to diagnose that aside from clicking that link. Let's try going to my main YouTube page. Usually when I'm streaming, it will show that here. And if it has moving video, yes, it has moving video. I will just ignore the fact that the preview does not. Maybe I do a refresh on that, but I don't want to end the stream. This is just chalked up to getting the experience with this stuff. And I did a Bing search here. It's powered by DALL-E. That's interesting. So you can just do these searches at www.bing.com/create. For anyone who doesn't know about this yet, I guess you can just do bing.com/create. And then you can just describe an image that you'd like, hit create, and it's an easy way of using, I guess, the DALL-E engine. You have 20 boosts for today. Use your boost to create blah, 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 blah. So I just typed in Vanity search. And that's what produced this, which is what gave me the thumbnail for this, and which I don't know if anybody is even here. I think this is perhaps a failed stream. What can we do? Stream settings, viewer activity. I'm going to try doing a refresh. There we go. There's a moving picture. And I do believe it's still the same stream going. So we can minimize that. And now get over to the vanity searches. I had typed in my name just to see how things are changing here. And Bing is certainly learning more about me. It now is coming up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus 2 more. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you might not be able to count this twice. It's at least 5 sources for me. So I can copy that. And, you know, this is a vanity search. Test with Bing and Bard. Like 11 SEO, right? So I guess I'll put that on an H2. And that was me. And then Bing, its answer, right? So this is what it knew about me. It's not a bad start. But we are somewhat training these systems on who we are through our vanity searches to some degree. So it's kind of nice to just keep on top of it to make sure that your pages are indexed, whatever. And just to round that out, I'm going to do Bard, and then I'll probably switch to another topic because this is just something that is kind of kickstarting me getting streaming again. I got some other stuff I need to do. I'm on the end of a hour call. I'm sort of digesting that and getting back into the mental state of the next thing. And it occurred to me to do these tests. So if we go to I'll keep that one open because that is staging things for my next work. We're done with Bing, and we'll go to Bard. And my test for Bing was just to put Mike 11 SEO up in the address bar. For Bard, you have to go to an address in particular first. It's not like default search like the way it is for Bing. So I'll do the same test, all lowercase Mike 11 SEO, see what happens. What does Bard know about me? Oh, interesting. It dives into some alt arcana And it also gives source links. Now, one of the reasons I'm doing this is because, you know, a vanity search is a fairly good benchmark test. You can get familiar with the results and watch them change over time. And also, I will be doing this copy from Bard right up to the point where they embed the reference links into the copied text. So as you'll see, you got bullet points here. You got a few paragraphs and then bullet points, which should become markdown. And then this, which probably should become more markdown. So me, Mike Levin, SEO, and Bard, its results. Which, as you can see, you get the bullet points of the markdown, but you do not get the citations at the bottom. I'm interested in how it handles an M dash right before the word created. Oh, it handles the wrapping on bullet points pretty good. Yeah, okay, so the M dash is really just a directly typed. It's not ampersand, number sign, 151, semicolon, like the URL, or not URL, but entity encoded version. That's kind of interesting. What is it saying about me? It knows about 360i Tiger, the long, long ago, after Hittail, but before Pipulate. Devised and aided in the implementation of SEO strategy for Fortune 100s, including the Apple Store. Played instrumental role in getting the most notorious Google penalty in history, JCPenney, lifted. Designed SEO training series for international audience. Designed and delivered several training sessions during his short time there. PowerPoint game. This is acronym stuff. That's really interesting. It just chose bullet points from out of my various profiles. Now, because because Bard has multiple opinions, I guess I'll just grab all three for the sake of completeness. Because Bard has other drafts. It has drafts number 2. Let's see what it thinks about me there. It follows the same general format. It's finding the same things to cite. And Bard 3. This is kind of like a fresh start on the net, because the nature of search itself is going to change. So anything, you know, I got wrong in the first go around since 1995 or so, I can fix on the second go around with AI. And in fact, that should be a way that I preface this instead of just going into vanity search. So vanity searches are a okay benchmark test. That is, you probably do them enough so that you can notice changes in the search engines or chatbot responses. This is me just taking a quick snapshot period. All right, so and I'll put my name up here. Mike Lemon, SEO vanity search test with Bing and Bard. That's what it is, and that'll optimize like that on the outside. Let me give names to my last few posts, because the stuff, if you were following me this morning on the live stuff, I figured out the mermaid stuff. So I'll show you that actually. You go to my site. My name is my site. Go to my secret blog. And I guess that's this one here. I was playing around with it, and I finally figured out how to get the mermaid diagrams to render correctly, and that is to just, you know, lean into its strengths. Give it a white background. That way I don't have to change the arrow color, and all the defaults work. If I want something else later, I'll adjust it later. But 80-20 rule, if I go down to 100%, this is the normal view level of my site and of mermaid diagrams. Now I can do mermaid diagrams, and that is huge. That is huge, because I'm talking about data now, and I really want to talk about data in terms of ERD diagrams and illustrate it as I go. And that gets to the next point. That tab that I didn't want to delete is the Moz home, because here I am logged in as my work Moz account, which is comped on the Pro product. And this is first experience stuff, really. This is me logging in with a comped account after having explored the free, right? So I logged in with a free Moz login under a different email, but then I had my work email comped to the full Moz Pro $100 a year product, $100 a month product, and now I am going to probably go through some of these different things to learn about it with fresh eyes, and then I'm going to map it out as I go. It's not like I'm going to create an entity relationship diagram of everything in here, but I'm going to do something along those lines so I can familiarize myself with all the data inside the system, and I can even start listing that. That goes at the end of this vanity search thing, but that's fine. It transitions from one topic into another. So &J will start a new blog post. Sometimes you see me save before I go into command mode, or while I'm still in insert mode, right? So there's an insert mode, and then there's a command mode in VI and NeoVim, the text editor I'm in. It's different from most text editors. Anyway, let me think through this next step. For this next step, I want to try to create, for this next step, I will create an SEO deliverable of the type I might do in an SEO agency, or even a company looking at who is doing well out there in terms of web traffic. All right. So that's the kind of deliverable. I'm going to survey the landscape, either as if I were an SEO agency, maybe doing a competitive analysis between a client and other sites out there, or as if I was just open-ended and saying, you know, who's performing well out there. And this might be where I go over to that deliverable, that thing that I made in my Moz repo. So now I have this Moz repo that you can all actually follow along with and see. It's at github.com/mick11/Moz. And this is the repo. This is that same repo. You can't see necessarily everything I've done lately because I haven't pushed it, but I'm gonna clean the README up. I guess this is the face of this thing to the world, so I should clean that README up sooner rather than later. Make this a proper PNG style GIF, make the proper wrapping. And in fact, I was showing the inspection tool earlier. I might actually be able to use that to just get this to flow, right? There's these box boundary flow things that could be in play here. As the user pointed out, you can switch to this and just twinkle it around there. That's another way to do it if it's an easy thing to click. Pull that out to get your HTML showing, and you know, you can find Roger. That's that image right there. And then it's either the containing box, the containing element, which is anchor text, or here that will define how it flows. So how to make text flow around IMG. We'll see if we're overloaded with the ads and stuff. Ugh, yep, forget it. I don't like that at all. Let's chat. Float property. Show me. Recent world news. That is not what I was asking it to show me. Show me the float property being used. Does it still have context of question before last? Yes, it does. So float. So that's a property of, that's a style property of the image itself. So let's take a look. That's this tab here. And we bring up the inspect tool. And on the image itself, which is this one here, there should be a list of attributes. And we should be able to add float : left. And there we go. That's the float behavior. It's not the whole thing I'm looking for, but simply putting a float CSS style on this would do it. Now, the fact that it's the README from GitHub has some implications. I don't know if I can slip. Well, it might be inline. I can do that inline. So that Roger graphic is being created by the README in here. I can actually just double click the README right here. And I am using the pointy brackets for Roger right there. So here's style. I'm already doing style. Float. Hey, float : left. There it is. I already did it. So it is, in fact, GitHub Pages sort of stepping in and messing that up, which I can't allow to happen. Roger won't look good if he's not allowed to float in the text unless I center him or whatever. So I'm just going to delete that out of the README for now. The float left. Oh, I even tried the float left on the paragraph above it. See, I've been down this path. These are just limitations of displaying documentation in GitHub Pages. So, or the README. That's not even GitHub Pages. That's just the default GitHub README documentation system. So I'll leave it like that for now. We can live without Roger on that page. And here, do global imports. Oh, this is really interesting. So I'm up to this point now where I'm going to continue my exploration. I'm hitting the links API and storing all the responses locally. You can never walk through this too many times, so I'll walk through that, see if anyone's here. The longer I stay on these things, the more users get picked up. So even when there's no one on here, like right away or right now, you do tend to show up here over time. So I'll just keep going with it. Put it over where I can see it. Minimize OBS. That doesn't need to be out there. And yeah, this will let me see if anyone actually happens to show up. It's not the hottest topic in the world. This vanity search thing isn't going to draw too many people. But the topic that I'm sort of sidestepping into is a good one, and this will be my next big thing. In fact, I probably should wrap up this stream and move on to the next one. Although before I do, I think I'm going to do an experiment. I really want to get an ERD diagram going. So I'm going to use my some test space here. So I'm going to name these last ones. This vanity search. This one here was struggling with a mermaid. I can also put in the embedded image. So watch me struggle with Mermaid JS. And we can go over to YouTube. I go to my content, YouTube Studio, content, live. Here's the mermaid one. I just grab that shareable link. And now over here in my journal, that's way down here that happens. I'll put it near the top though, so that if people surf in, at least they get something interesting here. So I paste in that just recently copied YouTube video, and then I ampersand Y, and that creates almost the correct link for the embed. I fix it a little bit, and that will be pushed out there. Watch me struggle with Mermaid JS. And I go down to the next one. That also is not named. Oh, this was supposed to be named by just bringing that up to the next line. And now I will render all that out. That will update on my site. And while that's going on, I take a deep breath in anticipation of the next step. There's people joining in. Okay, there's someone there. Feel free to say hi. Oh, did my chat return to here? I think it did. Pop out the chat. Oh, that's when I did the refresh, of course. This chat's probably broken. It's reconnected to this chat window now. Slam that over there, and then just shrink that down. Go like that. And now this is set up for you guys to talk to me if anyone wants to say anything. My blog system's being released, and I'm thinking through next step, and I'm still live casting on this one about vanity searches. So it's no longer about vanity searches. I'm past that topic, and I am now on to and when I do that, I'm getting rid of the yellow highlighting. Hey, hello, Joe. So, yeah. Think in terms of ERD diagrams, and that's entity relationship diagrams of the various Moz products without, getting too deep in the weeds. All right, I'll take that, without getting too deep in the weeds and without giving away anything as a Moz employee, though I haven't learned enough to know anything different than you would through the standard product interfaces. Standard product interfaces, you say? list them. List them. Okay, so the Moz products break down under Moz Pro. It knows. Moz Local, hey, this is great. It's doing my work. It's not really Moz Analytics. After Moz Local, you would really say, well, there's the Moz Free product. And that goes probably up here above Moz Local, although these two are very tied together. And then there's Stat, which is almost like a whole separate product or company. And then there's the Moz Links API, which I'm actually going to put before Stat because I guess it's more tied to the family of very related products, in which case there is also the Moz toolbar. Does that cover it? I think that may cover it. And so I'm going to do some interesting experiments. I might even change the whole title and thumbnail of this later on to get rid of the veil of this being about vanity search, because it's about to become much more interesting. You can poke around a product to learn it. Oh, the ERD thing I want to do. I get rid of Bard. I keep Moz Home. I get rid of this. And this isn't going to be post 527 anymore. If I, probably by now already, it should be file not found. Look at that. And if you're unfamiliar with my site, whenever you hit a 404 page, this 404 you will adore. It helps to ease the fog. I might say clear the fog. It helps to clear the fog. Scroll down low to depths below and find my secret blog. And to see some more from me, just click here for a poem. A page that's for those still not sure is ~/hoem. Okay, so while I'm thinking of it, ease the fog, show something about that, right? So, and just pop real quick into a Linux shell, cd hide / my name, vim 404, ease, clear. So the next time I render the site out, my 404 page will have that improved language. But we go to the secret blog, I do a refresh here, and you'll see that I've put titles on all those past ones that didn't have titles. We even have a butterfly in a headline. Oh, look, but it filtered it out on the URL exactly as it should. But I got the butterfly in the headline element. That's really interesting. And is this the one I was talking about markdown with? No. Markdown came later here. Yeah, this is the embed of that video session. And this is me getting a little bit of Mermaid JS correct. And before I jump into the product, because I will be enumerating a lot of things about all of these, which by the way isn't going to be how I produce the deliverable. I'm working with other people in the company who can hit against these products from the back end in ways that I can't, to sort of pre-bake that data that I need, so I don't have to let my queries run overnight, collecting and collecting and collecting. But I'll spare you from all of that and do things in more of how anyone can do it sort of way, both to familiarize myself more and to have a more interesting video for you, and to create concrete deliverables that can be used out there by people. All right, so yeah, beware your nested dependencies. You don't want to make things rely on other things. However, I went all this way on these mermaid diagrams. There's no way I'm not going to take an example of an entity relationship diagram and push it out so that I can have exactly this example on my website, so that I can start looking at at their language. So I need to understand their ERD diagram language. Everyone has these different syntaxes. Oh, look, they're putting it in manually. They're put the vertical bars are right in the code there. That is so interesting. So I'll grab this. Is there a copy? Is that a copy? They don't have just a copy link. So I guess I want to go to a slightly smaller font so I can see more of what I'm looking at. And then I can copy these. And then I can go over to here. And then I can paste that in. Now you can't just paste a mermaid diagram like that. You actually need to envelop it in something. I guess in this case it's a div that has a mermaid class, and that kind of makes sense. I'm waiting for autocomplete or Copilot to know what I'm intending, but it doesn't necessarily know when you want to end a div. I'm going to guess it doesn't know much about Mermaid at all. It hasn't been trained on it. But now I can at least give this a label. This last one was the Vanity search. Okay, so this one is getting to know Moz through Mermaid ERDs. I don't know how many people that's going to make sense to, but that is in fact what I'm doing. You need a way to document what you learn about a product, and in SEO a lot of times it absorbs in and you just intuitively know things. A lot of input, a lot of output, and you sort of black box it. You do this black box reverse engineering of how something might work, and it's an internal thing. It's inside of you. That's not good enough. I am one of these not merely technical SEOs, but probably incredibly deeply technical SEOs. And when I am figuring out a system that I know has database structure behind it, I am tempted to draw the ERD diagram, because in drawing the entity relationship diagram, you understand the apps, you know what's possible, you know what kinds of deliverables can be made out of it. Yeah. So hello, Joe. I think it's only you, Joe, but it will be more. As I'm on, these things grow. And in fact, this Vanity searching in Bing and Bard, I'm going to change that so that it's not so misleading anymore. This is exploring Moz products, Moz SEO products. And then let's see, I'll change the thumbnail and just delete it, change. Yeah, I've got the last two ones I did. I don't know. I'm going to just go into, you can't delete it once you give something a thumbnail. I go into my images directory for my site, and I'll switch to large icons, and then I'll just choose something that's not terribly objectionable off my site. It's time to have these three guys, huh? I'll just do that for now. I don't know. It doesn't matter. That'll probably spike viewership a little bit if you want to see what that looks like. I believe my YouTube homepage always lists my current Moz livecast. So, oh, it goes to local. It shows a thumbnail for a moment, and then goes to a live thing of it. If I do a refresh, yeah, it's going to stick with that other icon, but that's okay. That's okay. Exploring Moz SEO products. That face works for that as well. Image creator. This we don't need. We'll just leave that for the streaming interface. All right. So this is probably rendered for a good while and probably is visible on my site, which I like to go over to a fresh Chrome window because I have the icons set up and not many distractions from it. So I hit this, and getting to know Moz through Mermaid. And there it is. Look at that ERD diagram. Isn't that something? So list them, and then I'll put some text here to make sure this makes sense. This is my copy paste location for ERD diagrams. So after list them, I go, I needed to have a visual language tool that wasn't Visio and all that proprietary desktop software. Even FOSS desktop WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get, is too much overhead. I just want to slam out markdown and have ERD diagrams. So Mermaid JS looks like the way to go. So I go back to the last thing it thinks is spelled wrong. I do a ZG to add that to my library. This one I actually do a Z1 ZW, 1Z equals. 1Z equals. See, it's in your fingers, ZG, and you start to actually forget what the keystroke combinations are. It's very much like you're driving. Now, this is the sample ERD diagram from their interactive web designer. And I guess I ought to put the link to that because I'm going to be coming back to this every once in a while. And I think it's just mermaid.live. I will double check that. Yeah, mermaid.live/edit, and then it forwards it again. So I'll just put it in as /edit. Yeah, all right, that'll work. And I can hyperlink that on the words. You put square brackets around the part that should be the link, and then parentheses around the URL part. And if it doesn't go color coded, you try syntax on, because when the files get as big as the ones I do, 60,000, 250,000 lines, it can get confused on the color coding and turn it off at some point. So you can turn it on. And yeah, that will put into perspective what people are looking at. Now I actually want to look at what's here and understand how that becomes a different symbol over there. So in fact, I'm just going to go, instead of like some big detective thing, I'm going to just once again ask Bing, what is the ERD symbol system for Mermaid JS, such as one-to-one, one-to-many, and the like. And you can see how understanding the context of what you're saying becomes really a thing. Mermaid syntax for entity relationship diagrams is compatible with plant UML, which with an extension to label the relationship. Okay, so we're going to be looking for plant UML ERD symbols. I will copy this whole thing, in fact, including my question, because this kind of stuff gets to be kind of interesting to track over time. So it's me, and then it's Bing. I should almost make a keyboard shortcut for this particular formatting fix that I do on Bing results, because you got to do that to make it look good. Otherwise, it formats stuff fairly well. Look at this lovely markdown here that it gives. And my question was this. I like to keep my upper and lower case and spelling mistakes in context. Although it's never easy to highlight blue on blue. Let me tell you, this is one area where Bing does not make it easy. And in fact, I'm just going to forget that. No, sake of, there, I got the I-beam. Getting the I-beam is a strong vision. And then you have to copy a lot of times. Like, there's no surprise that even today, Microsoft gets kind of a bad reputation for user interface compared to the Mac, even though it's made such great strides. All right, so I want to see if I can just outright find the good documentation, or the original documentation, or the, you know what I'm talking about. If Mermaid is compatible with this, then this came first, and by going to its just plain old main documentation, we should be able to get these rules. Home, what's new, getting started. It's a different system, so this plant UML is a different system than the Mermaid JS that I'm using, but I'm guessing not significantly so. Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide. It's always nice to see a Hitchhiker's Guide in something. Hitchhiker's Guide to Plant UML. I'm going to go back to the original Plant UML site and look for entity. That's what I'm looking for. Go directly to the Bing site. I'm going to go directly to chat. And I'm going to say format this as a markdown table. All right, so that's formatted as a markdown table, and I can copy that and I can paste it over here. I now need to know the ERD symbols. Found them on thinks you found everything on Stack Overflow, doesn't it? Found them on that link. And here is the table formatted in Markdown. And I don't have to write that. I just have to show it formatted in Markdown. And you don't see it formatted pretty here, but when that renders out to the site, that's going to render nice and pretty like that. But I do want to actually just look at it and really absorb what I'm looking at now, right? The idea is this is important. So it can be related to 0 or 1, exactly 1, 0 or many, 1 or many. So we got to look at the commonalities. When the symbol touching the shape is a vertical pipe, it's to 1. It's a 1 item there. And when the symbol touching the shape is curly braces. It's a many item there. Now, to the other side, outside the shape, because the shape will be on this side, the entity will be here, the entity will be here. So whatever is connecting can relate to exactly one element of that type here. And if it has this symbol, it doesn't have to have a supporting entry of that element type in that table here. It can have no records in that table. And it can have none, or it can have many. So I'm absorbing this, I'm internalizing this, right? So here it must have at least one, but it can have many. So I know my ERD diagrams. Now I want to look at how it's drawn, because those shapes are going to reverse themselves depending on, what direction they're going to. See, there's things that connect two shapes, right? Two entities. So there's a delivery address entity with a 1, and it must be at least one, and it must be at least one, and it can have no entries or many as far as orders. So a delivery address might be every order must have at least one address, but not every address is yet tied to an order, of which there might be multiple. So that's something I'm just going to have to internalize over time, but I can make a ER diagram. This is so interesting. Let's start out by just copying the whole thing, going down here, and let's talk about the entities that exist in the field of SEO. Okay, so forget about all these relationships. It's just, we're going to list a bunch of boxes that aren't connected by anything. I don't even know why I copied that, but that outer stuff is important. So there is SERPs, there's keywords, links. Is there anything else? SERPs, keywords, and links. There is the concept of volume, but that's something that's tied to keywords, but it could be seen as its own separate entity. In fact, a lot of these get broken down differently, because when you list the fields that exist in here, there's going to be different fields under SERPs, different fields under keywords, and they might actually be different tables based on what you're really looking up. Like keywords might be part of the primary key on different tables. A giant master list of all your keywords, the corpus, as they say, and then a lookup table where this keyword has had this level of search volume on this month, because those search volumes might change from months. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to slice and dice it, but at any rate, just to start asserting my control over these things, I am going to save that. It'll render it out, but waiting for that long GitHub Jekyll process to happen just for seeing the output of these things is kind of darn unacceptable. So what I'll probably do is do a rapid Mermaid testing file, a file that I just throw things into, and do a quick refresh directly against a local file to a web browser without even going through a web server, just to do rapid iteration testing. And I do have one of those sitting out here, and I put that on cd/mnt ls cdc/users/me vim test. I just remember where I put it. And so here's a Mermaid diagram. I don't think I need most of that there anymore. this is going to get replaced by what I just copied. And this style is probably going to go away. I do want a style though, and I want to lift the style from buffer add. And I happen to know these paths, tilde/home, not home, but repos, hide, my site, assets, CSS, styles.css. So that's now in my next buffer, and I can go to the bottom. I remember I pasted it near the bottom, and this is what I want in here. It might be exactly the same. It is. It's all that because it was exactly the same. But you know what? So what? So what? So what? Oh, this background color shouldn't be black. That was me experimenting with something earlier. And now I should be able to test this really rapidly. And I also will be able to look at it live on my site. Which should I do first? Let me find that location. And there it is. There's the 3 boxes, right? I didn't do any styling at all. So here I can test really rapidly, putting different, say lines between them with different entity relationships. And it should be released onto my site as well. Getting to know Moz through Mermaid ERD. Refresh. Not yet, not yet. And if you're like, what the heck's going on? It's still actually rendering with the GitHub Pages system. So it hasn't fully generated, such as it were, something that you've seen quite a bit on my site now if you've been following along recently, because I tend to show that a lot. I am still streaming, and yeah, there's occasionally people there. Hello. Okay, it's done rendering, and so now I can go back to my main site and do a refresh. Oh, how nice, how nice. Look at that. This is me documenting stuff, right? So I ask Bing, what is the symbol system? It tells me this, and gives me my sources. You can see why I format things the way I do. These lines run so long. This seems to be the only way I can make it look good. I wish I could automatically hyperlink those citation links that Bing gives, but that's really up to Bing. If they wanted to put that in Markdown, they could. All they have to do is put this in put this in parentheses, put the links in parentheses, and then put this stuff in square brackets, and it would hyperlink. So that's on them. Here is the Markdown I told you. It would format into a nice table, and there it is, formatted into a table. And then there is the example of the one I created, although what you can't see is the unmermaidified Markdown, right? Because the mermaid code over here is in fact being turned into this diagram. So you can't really see this code, except insofar as if you really cared to, you could view page source and just scroll down and see it. It's going to be there. There it is. This here becomes this here. And I can start drawing diagrams real quick that talk in abstract ways about the relationships between things, without me having to break out the stylus or draw with my finger on the screen all the time. So yeah, I didn't really get to know the Moz product in this session, but now I have the tools to do it. I have the ability now to step through the Moz product and take note of things and document what I think the ERD diagrams behind it are, so I can start to ideate all kinds of different deliverables, valuable things for users of the Moz product, and then start giving away my Jupyter notebooks in order to produce those deliverables. And while these videos, while I'm doing it, is like the sausage factory, you're seeing the internals of it and things might look more complicated. The idea is that when it's done, yeah, you're just going to load up some notebook, read some documentation, have some good illustrations. I'm going to try and get the mermaid diagrams in here as well. And then change some values in a location like this. See, configure variables. So some of your configure variables are going to be different. This is generic, but if there was a site involved, site equals, you would put your site in there. If there were competitors, you would put your competitors in there, and then you would just run the whole notebook. Kernel, restart kernel, and run all cells. And that, if it had an instruction in here to say output a PowerPoint or output an Excel file, it would just output it. It would be sitting on your drive. It could give you the link right at the bottom of the notebook for you to click and look at. It could email it to your client, right? I mean, you wouldn't want to, because you'd want that step of reviewing it. But once you get it to the way you like it, if it's outputting a good, ready to deliver deliverable, you could move it over to 24/7, have it sent every day if you want. This is probably a good winding up point, unless people have joined in on the stream and have questions. It's not that many. It's going up and down. So, speak up or hold your peace until I come back streaming again, which might be very shortly. It's only 3 o'clock, and I do think I'm going to be bearing down on this project until, it's of a great deal of use to a great deal of people. Thanks for joining me. Hope to stream to you again soon. And look how friggin' successful we were on that. Look how much more power I have in blogging. Now I've got ERD diagrams. Ho, ho, ho.